Hello everyone, welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to your Monday night edition of what you would have thought was a Thursday night edition. We're not mixing you up, I promise. The Sunday show started at 7. The Thursday show's on a Monday. We're not messing with your heads, we promise. We are not here on Thursday. You will see us on social media of some form, but we are going to be in a completely different sort of, in a totally different way, guys. But yeah, we're not here on Thursday, so kind of throwing it across to our Monday nights for you all. We've got plenty to talk about tonight. Pogba, the defensive issues. Rashford's been talking as well. Loads to get through as always in the headlines, United. And guys, look at that panel. Look at them all. It is a quality lineup tonight for you guys. Levin, how's it going, mate?
I'm in shock. I don't know what Kev just did below me, but I never want to see it again.
Never be surprised what Kev comes up with.
Yeah, well, on another note, I'm good. I'm like you said, I'm a bit confused because I'm used to this being on a Thursday, but now it's on a Monday, so my whole week's, you know what I mean? It's flips upside down, but nah, I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here.
That's it. Lev, Kev, and Bev, as the comment says. Nice. Kev, how's it going, mate? Recovered from Tyson Fury fight now? Back on track?
Just about. I have to say I'm running on about 60%, nearly there after that 1 hour's sleep after the fight yesterday. So, yeah, hopefully get up to full form by probably about midweek. And you know what? I just actually got excited then. For a minute, you got inside my head. I thought it was Thursday, so
you got excited.
I did.
Well, let's see if everyone's smiling this time next Monday after we've played. Okay, enough said. But, I mean, Kev, just been one big dosser then, haven't you, mate, today? Pretty much. That's it. Beth, how's your weekend been? All good? Did you enjoy it? Did you watch any of the fight, or was you busy?
Do you know what? It was actually a nice change to have boxing on instead of football. And yeah,
true. I thought very true.
I stayed up for the boxing. It was obviously the best fight that I've ever seen. I don't know about you guys, and then we've got Thursday night to look forward to. So I'm excited for that.
There you go. Straight into it. Yes, all will be revealed as always. Right, guys, let's get into it. I mean, I'll start with you, Beth. We missed you yesterday on the Sunday show. You're a Manchester girl. You love your home city. Everything's going well. If someone offered you 500k a week to go and live and do your trade in Paris, would you take it? Would you go? Because that's what Pogba's been offered, apparently, by PSG to go and play his trade over there in France. I mean, it's a hell of an offer, Bev. It's hard to turn down. We talked the other day about how we didn't see an option for him going anywhere. It does look like there is one.
I mean, personally, for me, you can't buy me. I'm a Manchester girl. I'm always going to say
there you go. That's the answer I wanted to see.
But the thing is, you've got to think, Pogba is French.
Exactly.
He claims he's loved United, but some of his antics have said otherwise. I mean, it's one of them with Pogba. It's one of them things no one really knows how he does actually feel about Manchester United. All on his socials, it's like just pure France, like nothing to do with United, nothing of any sorts. But then he apparently is such a good leader in the dressing room. He loves the club. He's always loved the club. But how can you love the club and then leave on a free twice? I'm not sure, because personally I love the club, and I mean I'm never going to be in that situation. But that's just something that I wouldn't do. I can understand why he's looking at options elsewhere. I understand if he thinks there is no project. And I hope for Pogba that is why he would think to leave, because of the project and because of what his place in that team would be, and because of the opportunities to win trophies. I'm hoping it isn't due to the money, because the amount of money that they're earning anyway is just absolutely ridiculous. Like 500k from like 400k, which is what we're apparently going to offer him. I mean, it's literally nothing when you get to that amount of money. So hopefully it's not about the money. But I've always said I think Pogba's going to stay. I really do. It's not surprising me that there's already offers flying around. Could just be headline talk. Mino Raiola's starting to get the ball rolling. Now he's getting up to that point where he starts to get the rumours going. Remember last Champions League when all that came out? So we'll just have to see. But I mean, if it's about the money, I don't think you should be thinking about the money. You should be thinking about your ambitions as a player. He's got to think in his head after he talks to United, after he talks to Ollie, if Ollie's still going to be there, after he talks to Paris and other clubs that are going to come in for him. And he's got to think what the best places he's going to win stuff and where he's going to achieve things, and whether that is in Manchester United or whether it is elsewhere. I mean, I hope it's in Manchester United, but at the moment, it's not looking likely. So,
I mean, I'll just quickly touch on this super chat. I'm not going to read it out because, Jay, I'm not happy with that one, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. But don't tempt fate. We're missing a few key players for these big Champions League games, mate. We can't be having our Thursday nights being ruined. Cheers for that, mate. Anyway, but Levin, Beth touched on it there. Ambition, winning trophies. Where's he going to win trophies? Pogba seems to win trophies in a French shirt while playing in the middle of the park, mate. Is he thinking along these terms now that maybe this United project isn't going to bring in trophies at this age, like we've already discussed, mate? This probably is his last big move.
Yeah, and like thinking from like his perspective as well, you look at the teams he's been in, Juventus, France, of course, they very much do a lot to accommodate him and to sort of center things around him. And people might think that and go, what? France don't do that. But France very much do, right? Where they play the five at the back, even when they weren't playing five at the back, when they were playing four at the back, they would play an extra sort of defensive midfielder. So Pogba didn't have to do as much defensive work and he had more freedom, right? They'd play like Matuidi on the left, Tolisso or Rabia, right? At United, doesn't have that luxury, right? Like just doesn't have that luxury. And I think very much he probably would be thinking, yeah, maybe it's time to move on. And to be fair to him, you know, he's committed, 6-7 years of his life to Manchester. He might just want to move on, right? He might just want to move to Spain, move back to France, right? It might be as simple as that. To be fair, everything we hear about him says that he likes Manchester, but like Beth alluded to, never really know what he's thinking in it. Like we have no clue really what he's thinking. But I'd like to hope he likes Manchester and he'd want to stay. But if he chooses to leave, I'm not going to be crying about it. I like Pogba, but I'll move on. I'll be fine, innit?
That's it. Kev, it comes down to...
attitude as well.
Kev, we've spoken about this loads of times, mate. I mean, it comes down to, are you really bothered about United acting like a big club and putting up over $500,000 a week to a player? Or would you rather it be someone like PSG blowing all that money like they seem to just do at will, mate?
It's the situation Manchester United have got themselves into. I always said this from day one. You get back into bed with Raiola, the agent, and it was written in the stars for me that this opportunity for Pogba would come along. And his silence speaks volumes all the time. He's never slated Raiola. Raiola basically comes out with these things, and we have to sit here and listen to it. And me and Levin, we were talking the other week. I said such a story will break on this international week, and it always does regarding Paul Pogba leaving Manchester United. It's good because we've obviously got something to talk about. But as regards to the money, as regards to the money involved, the money's mind-boggling. We look at it and we're like, you can't comprehend in today's world what that means. But listen, if Paul Pogba loves Manchester United so much, you sign the contract, you're going to be well looked after. I understand that a footballer's career is short and he'll be looking to safeguard himself. And it is a big thing to commit now at this stage because it'll see him out, you know, probably into his, sort of mid-30s or whatever it'll be. And that'll be his career sort of at the top level done. But Pogba, listen, he left Manchester United before, so it really comes down to how much are you committed to the cause, like you say, the project. I would have liked to have thought that the signings of Sancho, Varane and Ronaldo were almost kind of done to show Pogba how committed United are to actually getting back to being, you know, champions of England once again. Would he jump ship? I really think there's a very strong possibility.
I'll put it to you all. I mean, if we talk about it in terms of all his tactics, I mean, obviously we know our football to a certain degree. Pogba's right in the mix of it. He plays with world-class players week in, week out. He sees what's happening when he goes on international duty. He sees what some of his teammates playing for other clubs are winning. Do you think he's looking at it going, is Ollie going to be able to handle this? Because Kev touched on it there, like all these players coming in, it would, from the outside, look like, you know what, that's got to have tempted him. We're making all these signings. It's showing ambition, like United should be. But if he's seeing the fact that he's being benched for McFred, Ronaldo's sat next to him, and he's just being brought on here and there or wherever when Ollie thinks the pressure is going to be too much to keep him on the bench for any time longer. Is there a point when a professional footballer goes, you know what? Because we're thinking it. Do you think these players actually think it as well? It's like, is he going to be able to get anything out of it? I mean, did you guys see that? Can you see that happening with the likes of Pogba or anyone in our team? Pogba's been there a while now.
To me, I don't think if he's looking at it from a football perspective, I don't think he'll be happy. I recently rediscovered the interview after the game where we beat Roma 6-2. And in that interview, he's obviously talking about the error, right? Because he had an error and it led to the penalty. And he was like, I tried to defend, I tried to tackle, I tried to be like the English guy. I can't tackle, I need to stop tackling, I need to practice more, right?
I like that accent, mate. Quality.
Brilliant.
You know me, man. I gotta whip out the French for them and that. But, he clearly isn't keen on defending. Like, he doesn't want to be in a team where he feels like there's a big defensive burden on him, right? You look at the Euros this year, when the comments from, I think it was Vieira and Keane came out, and his response to it was, yeah, when I played for Juventus, I had more freedom to attack. I had to get into the box. With Man United, I have to focus more on defending. And I don't think he wants to do that. I really don't think that's what he wants. And so if we're just looking at it from a pure football perspective, I don't think he'll be happy. Even like with Kev talking about like the signings thing, right? I think signing a defensive midfielder would have been the one thing to be like, oh, we are serious about you, Pogba, right? We're signing this guy to tackle all game long so you don't have to, right? But instead, right, you can make it. I'm fine with the signings, but I'm not saying the signings were bad, right? But instead, if you're looking at it from Pogba's perspective, you could almost go, the signings we made directly made him have to defend more. Because we brought in Ronaldo, we brought in more attackers where now he has to do more defending. So I really don't, I don't think he'll be looking at things, going, this is the perfect place. Maybe he does like Manchester, but from a footballing perspective, I don't think he'll be looking at it thinking this is the place to be. Yeah.
Beth, I mean, he has to look at it, surely, doesn't he?
Yeah. Touching on what Levin just said then, like, Pogba, since he's been here, we've never built the team around him, which I think he was probably promised. Like, when he first got here, he was surrounded by quite average players compared to what we've got now, in my opinion. I do feel like the team we've got now, even though we're not performing, is much, much greater. So in that respect, you can say, look, we are building a team and we have got better players around you. But like Levin said, that CDM is exactly what you needed to make Pogba play the way he wants to play in this team, which is a lot more attacking. He can't do that with any of the midfielders unless he's on the wing, which isn't going to happen now Rashford's back. So if you're Pogba, you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to be on the wing because we've got these wingers and Rashford's coming back. I'm going to have to play in the midfield or I'm going to be on the bench. In Pogba's head, I don't think he feels like he's the most important player. And I mean, as a player, you shouldn't be thinking that anyway, but I do think that's what Mino Raiola has always made out. Pogba wants a place in the team. He wants to feel important. He wants to be one of the better players. He wants a team around him that complements him, and he wants to be like one of the main guys. And I just don't feel like he has ever really been that for a period of time. And even now, his position in the team still isn't confirmed. Like, every single lineup, you're like, Bruno's playing number 10. Obviously, Shaw's playing left back. Like, you don't know if Pogba's going to start for definite, and you don't know if he even does start, where he's going to start. So every week for Pogba, it's the same thing. He doesn't know what position he's going to be playing. It's different. He can't get used to a position. And therefore, that's probably why as well there is some inconsistency with his game. A lot of people criticise him for that, but he's never had a nailed-on solid position in the team. So you're going to get inconsistency with that. And that's the same with Manchester United in general. The team is never the same every week, hence why we're always inconsistent. But for Pogba, I would start to look. He's been there for a long time now. I think it was 6 years. Did someone say 6 years? And he's not really gone and won many things. Like, he's won obviously a few nice trophies, but he's not won a Premier League. He's not gone really far in the Champions League. And a player of that quality who's won a World Cup, he's just won obviously the Nations League. It's not that great, but still another trophy. He's going to be looking at other players around him, and he's going to want to be winning stuff. He wants to be the main guy. He wants to have a spot every week, and he's not quite got that. So I think he would be looking at options, and I don't think many people can blame him for doing that. I wouldn't want him to leave, but I don't blame him.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's not even like he doesn't have a taste of winning. He won like 4 Scudettos in Italy. He's won the what? Like, he knows what it feels like to win at an elite level. 6 years without that really, you know, obviously he's an FA Cup. The stuff he's won was all in like his first season, right? So it's like, you know, yeah, cool. But he might think, you know what, let me go Spain. Mbappe's come in. We'll probably sign more people. Let's really, you know, let's bring the Galacticos back. You know what I mean?
Steph said it there though, didn't she? The nice trophies. Without even
Yeah.
thinking, you said the nice trophies. I don't want the nice trophies, Kev. I want the big ones, mate. We want them big two in our cabinet again.
Exactly.
On that, Kev, mate, the Beth and Levin just touched on it there. Super chat there. Adam, this one's for you, bud. Cheers for that, mate. I might get a drink on Thursday with that one. Would you take Tuchemene at United? He plays brilliantly with Pogba in the pivot. It all comes down to, like, I think it was Levin who said it, what type of midfielder you bring in alongside Pogba, don't it, Kev? And really, you're looking there at a point where you're going, we're having to buy a player to get the best out of Pogba now. And it starts building up an argument against how far you're going to go to make this guy work at Man United, doesn't it, Kev?
And it comes back to why has it not been, this issue? Why has it not been addressed? How many shows have we done where we're still talking about the same things? It really is crazy. Now, I've said, I think Jadon Sancho is a great talent, and this is nothing against Jadon Sancho, but I keep saying that money, if you're looking for a defensive midfielder, you probably could have addressed that situation this year and made Manchester United a lot stronger as a unit. Even if you're looking at Phillips from Leeds, Declan Rice, Basuma, all the names that have been thrown into the hat, just one of them, take Fred out of that team, and it instantly changes your midfield. It's a vital part of the team. And I'll just say on Pogba, I'll go back to it. And I think the question you really need to be asking yourself, right? You put away the so-called emotional attachment that maybe Pogba's got to United because he was at them as a kid. But again, he did leave Manchester United and he could leave them again. But the question you would ask, if he does leave United, he will use the thingy card. Well, I've enjoyed my time back here, but I want to be successful. I want to win the big trophies, like you say, the Big Ear Trophy, the Champions League, the whatever. If he goes, let's just say, to PSG, okay, he goes to PSG, you are guaranteed the La Liga pub league title or whatever straight away. So you're going to win that. And you weigh up PSG or Manchester United in the next year, this year, next year, a couple of years on, who has got more chance of winning the Champions League? Even us as Manchester United fans, I'll speak for myself and say PSG have got more of a chance of winning. With even Pochettino in charge, the players that they've got, I think they've got more chance of winning the Champions League than what Manchester United have. And that's what it would boil down to. Crazy
how you say that there, Kevin. There is a midfielder there that we let go, who's in that with all them Galacticos in a position we desperately need. Sometimes this football club just makes you it is some of the decisions. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard the Nicky Butt.
Our best midfielder.
Yeah, it was at the time, and we thought we could do better at the time. Little do we know, God. I mean, it's like what Nicky Butt was saying in terms of how far behind we've fallen, in terms of just the arrogance of the football club and some of the decisions made behind the scenes. And that, again, just proves, doesn't it? We're not the big dog anymore when it comes to on that pitch. Yeah, we've still got the history. We've still got that lore because we've seen players come when we've not even been in the Champions League. But I think eventually it will get found out and players will realise, and maybe this is what's happening now with the likes of
the thing with that, Adam, you touch on Nicky Butt's comments there about the setup at Manchester United, and that they were almost that arrogant that they just believe that any kid from Manchester will want to play for Manchester United. Now, that was like that when I was growing up. Times have changed. And it suddenly dawned on me today. I was like, so what stage did Manchester United realise that they weren't getting the top talent? Now, I know for a fact, Wayne Rooney, Robin Van Persie, Darren Fletcher's kids all played for Manchester. They were signing for Manchester City. They all went through the academy as young kids at Manchester City. So why weren't United looking at that at the time and going, well, what are they doing over there? Why do these players that are playing for us, why are their kids going to the Manchester City academy? And it's because it's that much better. You know, they will take them out when they get to a certain age. I know, like Rooney's son's at United now, but they prefer to send them to Manchester City because of the facilities and the way that they're looked after, and then take them out after that. So they're obviously getting a better football education at City than you would do at United. So they've fallen years behind with that.
Oh no, apparently the facilities at City are just
it's unbelievable.
Better. Crazy better.
I've been inside, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
It brings me great pain.
Yeah, I know, it's scary. It really is. On that, Beth, like Kev said there, though, is there a case that arrogance bred through has now put us in a position? Because Nicky Butt also touched on the fact that United have had to spend so much to then catch up from this mistake. And this is where the stupid wage structure has come in, because we've had to go out of our way to get these players in. And now we're stuck with this structure that Kev always goes on about, like the Sanchez deal and stuff like that. We've had to bend over backwards, in a word, to actually get players in, to actually keep us in where we are now, just the top four, really. Nowhere near the top, but just the top four. But I mean, that really, you can see why a lot of United fans have issues and look to the structure. And that word structure comes up a lot. And this really is all spiraling down from that arrogance of a football club that thinks it's untouchable, really.
Oh no, like obviously since post-Fergie, I think the transfers, a lot of them, obviously because of the change of managers, they've just been very, very questionable up to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. And that's one thing you can say about him. I do think his transfers mostly have been good. And I think he's brought in some really, really good players. And he's tried as much as he can, I think, to get rid of some of the deadwood that we have. But obviously, it's not down to Ole to get rid of this deadwood. It's down to the club. And we know how bad we are at doing that. And as you said, the more that we've had to go out and make panic buys, the more that we've had to go out and buy this player for a certain manager because he wants it, even though he's going to get sacked next year, like the more that the wage structure has gone in that direction. And I think that's a lot of the time what players see with Manchester United. Sometimes I think, oh, it's the lure of the club, but no, it's because we pay the biggest wages in the Prem, like we just do. So that's one massive factor of players moving there. But sometimes even now, like a player will look at that and like they'll still go to like a Liverpool or a City over us, because realistically, like we aren't at that level yet anymore. I think we're on our way back, but we did drop to that top four club, like fighting to get into top four. Now we're back at that point where we should be fighting for trophies. Because we dropped down that low, we did have to go out and make some signings, and a lot of them didn't work. And now we're trying to recover from it. Obviously, I think we don't rush into signings that much anymore. Hence why there's such a big delay, and we're rumoured around players for so long. So that's a little bit frustrating as well. But obviously, the transfer world's massively changing. You used to just look on Sky and it'd be out, and now you see it for months and months on end. So it's so much more overanalyzed. But our wage structure massively got broken. I think we are starting to recover it, but then giving Pogba this new contract's going to massively blow out the water again. So I'll be interested to see if Pogba does sign that contract, how much it'll actually be. And then following obviously Bruno and Luke Shaw in contention as well.
Yeah, definitely. Go on, Levin, mate.
I find it weird because I've seen some people in the chat say, and I can't remember if somebody said it, but I've seen people go like, oh, signing players to fit around Pogba, like, is getting to that state. Like, why does it have to get to that stage? And I sort of disagree, just because it fits in with the poor squad building, I think, that we've seen since, Fergie's left, where if you're signing a player to be the world record signing, which Pogba was at the time, why are you bringing that player in if you're not planning on building your squad around that player, right? Even now, right? If you want to make him the highest paid player at the club, highest paid player, in the Prem or whatever, why are you not actively trying to build around that player? Clearly, that person is the cornerstone to everything you're doing, right? And these are things that would have been they should be discussed with like the manager at the time, right? So like Mourinho, like the conversation should have been, yo, Mourinho, we obviously want to bring Pogba back. We want to build around Pogba. Can you facilitate that? Is that cool with you? And obviously the way their relationship ended up going, clearly that wasn't something that was as well thought out, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me how we ended up even in this position. Because to me, when we signed Pogba, since we signed Pogba, we haven't really built the squad around him that we should have, considering he was the world record signing, like the cornerstone, the face of Man United of that era, right? We never did that. And so, you know, yeah, you might be able to go and criticize some of his performances and stuff, but you also have to look at it from the side of the club where, yeah, you can argue Pogba's been bad, but the club's also failed him as well, where we haven't done what we should have done, right? And so that's how I look at it, and I go, you know, and you see other signs of poor squad building from us, where we've offered people silly wages, we've brought in the wrong players off of impulse, we've, you know, let me not even start listing players. I'm just going to start reminding myself of my own pain, innit? But, you know,
I was thinking about it when I was thinking about it. I was like, oh no.
Don't do it.
You already know who I'm thinking of, but, you know, we've made some dodgy decisions. And as much as I like Pogba, so I'm not trying to say Pogba was a dodgy decision, but it didn't feel like it was a thing where, oh, this is our football guy, we're going to build the football team around him. It just felt like bringing back record signing, big publicity, big brand, he's a massive player. Yeah, I mean, and that's not how we should be doing things. And I like to hope that with Murta and other people coming in, that now changes, but not optimistic at all.
For me, Pogba is a luxury player, so you do have to put players in place around him to get the best out of him. Like you see him on his Instagrams. Does anyone see like the videos he puts on his Paul Pogba like little football pitch and everything? He is all about attacking, scoring goals and skill. He is the luxury player. He's not going to be like back. He doesn't want to be back in his own box defending all the game. He wants to be out there showing his skills off. So Levin's right. We did never build that team around him that we probably did promise at the time.
Yeah, Akil there with the super chat. Cheers, mate. Hey guys, it just goes to show the mess our ownership we have. They were supposed to buy Sancho last summer and a CDM this summer, but they were basically forced to buy Sancho now due to the hype and not a CDM. Yeah, the ownership does come up into all these conversations, especially when contracts are being talked about. Moving on, guys. I mean, before we're about halfway through the video, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to tune in wherever you are. If you're driving, I know people do it. I do it when I'm driving. Put on the old media on the old dashboard on these snazzy new cars these days and listen to United Stands. So if you are on the late shift, hello, everyone out there listening. Kev does it as well in the van. I know he does.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, guys, talking of road trips, that will be back this weekend because we're off to Leicester. Don't forget to tune into that video as well, guys. That's going to be full of encouragement, I promise. But I'm going to go into our defensive problems going into that game now. And that may bring it down a little bit. We're hearing that Varane now, 11, is 1 to 2 weeks. That to me looks like Leicester, Atalanta, Liverpool. Maguire is back in light training, not fully back for match fitness or ready to go full ahead of steam. But talk to me about this miss that Varane's going to be and what Saturday's bringing, Levin, mate, because we're going to get into what our preferred partnerships of our defence, what's left of it, is going to be. But what are we going to miss with Varane not in that side against Leicester, mate, knowing what they've got in that forward line?
I just want to come out and say it. I know we're all thinking it. We're not missing Varane. We have Phil Jones.
Told you, mate. I'm gonna get. I said, Mark, I'm not accepting swearing. I'm not accepting swearing on this channel, mate. Don't say that name again.
Look, we are gonna be perfectly fine. You know it. I know it. The club knows it. We're gonna be all right. We got a he who shall not be named. So I think we'll be fine. On a serious note, it's a loss, of course, because you know Varane's a great defender, and I do fear that Maguire will be rushed back. You know, how long it took him to be subbed off when he got injured in that game was worrying, right? Where it's like he's saying, I want to stay on, and so they're just allowing it to the point where it was like, okay, no, you actually have to get off now. And I feel like in that same sort of sense, he'll probably be rushed back. Without Varane, though, in those games, you know, Leicester, they're going to have pace up front. You know, dealing with Vardy, Iheanacho, Patson Daka, that could be difficult, right? And so what do you play Bailly in that game maybe to try to deal with the pace in behind? Are we going to end up just sitting back and playing a bit more counter-attacking because of that? How does he adjust the system? These are all questions we don't currently have the answer to. I'd like to hope it's nothing too drastic. Like, I don't want to see him like whipping out a back five just because he's missing Maguire and Varane and going with 3 centre-back strike. I really hope it's not anything like that. But yeah, we'll probably have to see that. We'll probably see a rush back Maguire paired with either Lindelof and Bailly.
I mean, Beth, Give me your preferred two. It's obviously got to be what's left on it. The third and fourth choice in Bailly and Lindelof. Or are you trying to be clever here and changing shape or whatnot? What are you doing?
If you're asking me, do I want McTominay as a centre back or do I want Phil Jones coming in? It's a definite no. Like, he's going to have to be Lindelof and Bailly. Like, there's no other option. I mean, to be honest, I won't be surprised if Harry Maguire comes out with bloody crutches on, knowing Ollie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think it's got to be Lindelof and Bailly. But I'm not going to lie. Like, even though I would trust Lindelof and Bailly, I do think they are two good centre halves. It's an obvious drop off from Maguire and Lindelof, but they're still two good centre halves. And I would trust them to play in a back four in these games. I mean, it's not ideal, but I would. The only thing that it gives us is it is 100% going to be McFred. Like, there's not even a question of whether
it can't be. It can't be because Fred's not available.
Oh, is he not?
He's playing in Brazil and he doesn't get back in time.
Oh God, yeah, in the first game. Well, Liverpool.
That's the best response to the Red not playing. I've seen that. I'm having that one, Levin. Get that clipped up, people, please.
Yeah, I just hope it's not about 5 minutes. I'm absolutely buzzing now. I've just been reminded of the fact Fred can't play.
There you go. I told you it'd be all positives going into the Leicester game. That's it. Come on.
Anyway, Bailly versus Vardy part 2. Have you seen that clip where Bailly just absolutely takes him out?
Oh, mate, Bailly loves the battle, doesn't he? I mean, if there was one man I would put out there to one-on-one with Vardy, I've seen it. I still remember Bailly's debut in the Community Shield when he was flattening him every 2 minutes at Wembley. I still remember that one. But, I mean, are you looking at that now, knowing that Fred's not going to be there now? Can you see Ole changing that midfield, going super defensive with a Matic and a Scott McTominay just to protect the defence?
I was literally so happy. You should have seen my face. And I looked over to the comment section and someone said, Beth, you know it's going to be Scott and Matic. And I was like, oh, God. I forgot Ollie could actually pick that combination again. So, yeah, obviously, I don't want it to be McTominay, Matic. But if I had to put money on it, I would probably say that is what he's going to go for, because I feel like he doesn't trust that defence. I mean, he doesn't even trust Varane yet to play someone else in there other than Scott and Fred. So I think it might be McTominay and Matic, but personally for me, it'd have to be Matic and Pogba or Matic and Donny. I don't think you should be playing McTominay in there purely based off his form. I know he scored for Scotland, but in the United shirt, I think he's been terrible the games that he's played. And I think Matic has to come in, obviously, to shore up the back. And because he's the only midfielder that could play with either Pogba or Donny. I'd like to see Donny get his chance, to be honest, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, can you remember that FA Cup game at the King Power last season?
Yes.
When we had the absolute nightmare. Can you remember how bad Matic was in that game at the King Power alongside Fred? Is there a concern that he's going to go in with a combination in midfield that isn't used to playing together just because of Varane is missing and that not working as well? And then obviously we're leaving that defence, which hasn't played together as well, very vulnerable.
I would be I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very nervous now after hearing that injury to Varane. I mean, I tell you that the point I'm at, I'd be ringing up Dean Smith and saying, actual Twanzebe, can we cancel his loan and just send him back to Manchester, please? Because we are down to the bare bones. And let's not even discuss Phil Jones. It's going to be probably Bailly and Lindelof. Lindelof doesn't fill me with much confidence. And at the same time, I like Eric Bailly, but I think you have to pair him with, a Maguire or a Varane. Bailly is, in one word sums him up, is reckless. I mean, you can have a good day. He's going to have a good day on Saturday, because if he does play, he's up against Jamie Vardy, who's on fire. But it's just the reckless side of Eric Bailly. Sometimes he's just do something ridiculous, won't he? Just a really missed time challenge, or just go and kick somebody in the head or something stupid. You'll be like, oh, nice one, mate. But that's the way. I don't think you'll ever be able to change him, Eric Bailly, with that. He's just that committed. But sometimes, especially up against somebody like Jamie Vardy, once he gets one-on-one with him, what he's going to try and do. It's going to be very tough. And yeah, I totally agree, Adam. I think he's definitely going to go in with the two holding midfielders to try and compensate for the lack of experienced as a back four or a back two pairing, let's say. But I am slightly worried now. Won't lie.
I mean, it's like you can see it in the chat there, the fears there that he's just going to go. Bradley says it there. He's fearing the back five again. Sure, by Lindelof, Telles, and Wan-Bissaka. I mean, it is a worry that he's just going to have a knee-jerk reaction to one player being out when really he's talked about having strength in depth. And we've got players like Bailly and Lindelof for this reason. And yeah, they may come in cold, but I'm thinking, I am worried that could happen. I can see that happening in terms of Ollie changing the shape all of a sudden and completely shit in the bed, basically, is what he would do after seeing one player go down. And that's why we're always concerned about Ollie and what he's thinking. I mean, one player that is going to play, sorry, Beth, I mean, I'll touch on what you said in a second there and touch on McTominay as well. Good week for Scotland, buzzing. We know he's going to be in this United team. He plays very defensive, in fact, in defence for Scotland. I just feel like that is going to really hamper our chances of actually going out and winning this game. And Ollie's going to look at it and go, he'd rather not lose the game. And I hate saying that, but I can't help but feel it.
I was just going to say that, I'm sorry, but what is the point of having Bailly and Lindelof in your squad if you can't trust them? Like, I know it is a drop-off in quality, but you've got a bench and you've got a squad for a reason. Bailly and Lindelof are more than capable of being a centre-back pairing for this game. Yes, it's not as good as Maguire and Varane, but they are more than capable of doing a job. I think they are both good defenders. They're not absolutely amazing top class, which I think Maguire and Varane are, but the good defenders that can do a job for this game. Ollie to switch it to a back five, to go ultra defensive. I mean, come on. Like, just go out there and play your game. What did Klopp do when he got all them injuries last year? Did he go, we'll go to a back five, we're going to sit back? No, he was literally playing with like a bunch of youth defenders at the back, but he was still going for it. And in my opinion, I just think he shouldn't, like what you said, like just shit himself and change it all. He needs to just go with what he's been doing. I mean, it's not been great from what he's been doing anyway, but don't change it to a back five.
Yeah. I mean, 11, mate. Go on. Sorry, Paul, you're going to jump in on that.
No. You want to ask me a question? You can ask me a question. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about the back five, did you, mate?
No. I wasn't really going to say anything. I was just going to address what Beth, because I think Beth said like the trusting thing, and on that, I don't think that's fair because I think he does trust Lindelof. Like we know he trusts Lindelof.
Oh God, yeah, I think that,
and rightfully so.
Pairing probably.
Yeah, of course. I think the pairings were like, if he was to switch to a back five, I think it's fair to go, okay, this is because he doesn't trust Bailly, like specifically. Right. And then that's where you start going, okay, well, if you really don't trust Bailly that much, so you had to switch the whole defensive system just to accommodate him, then why is he starting the club? And then, in that sense, I think that's fair. But I think he trusts Lindelof, and I hope his trust in Lindelof is enough to make him not completely switch. But at the end of the day, right, if he wasn't, let's say he keeps a back four and it's Bailly and Lindelof, and then we're awful in defense, right? Like, then people will go, oh, well, you should have played a back five probably, right? So all we can do is hope that he goes with one and it's the right one and it works out. Because as much as these guys don't play week in, week out, on the other side of the coin, you have to take your opportunity, right? You have to take your opportunity. Bailly can't come in for the one game he's going to come in for and have a stinker. Like, he can't, right? He has to be a bit more disciplined. And I like Bailly, and so I hope he can do that. But I'm not expecting a back five. I'm really not. I know it's a possibility, but I'm really not expecting a back five just because you can't play McTominay. I saw some people in chat saying McTominay at centre back. You can't really play McTominay at centre back because he needs McTominay to play in the midfield because there's Fred. And trust me, if he could play Fred in this game, 1,000,000% he'd be playing Fred in this game. They will definitely have McTominay in the midfield. So I don't see the back five coming out, but I don't think we should we should worry because Leicester's actually gotten a bit better. Like, they started off the season slow, and they've looked better. Like, they weren't playing with two strikers, and they've now gone back to playing with two strikers, and so they're looking a bit deadly. And maybe that will be
leading scorer in the league.
Now that I think about it, if they're going back to playing two strikers, we might just go with the back five, just so you have one centre back occupying both, and then one covering the space, and actually,
and there
didn't
you
even
go.
think about that.
There you go.
The
Will
back
you leave a
five
question?
can work. It can work, the back five, but I don't think Ollie has the capabilities to make it work. And I don't see Wan-Bissaka as a wing back. And it
Takes you back to that semi-final at Wembley, doesn't it, against Chelsea?
God, don't, because that will give me PTSD, because that was one of the worst games.
Completely,
What else
blew it, didn't it? Tactically.
Well, one thing I'll say as well is because I think people, just because you play a back five or back three, doesn't mean it's like an overly defensive formation, or doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Like, try telling Cruyff in the 90s that playing a back three is bad, right? Like, that Barcelona team played that's the team that set their culture for the next, 30 or so years. Like a back 3/back 5 inherently itself isn't bad. It's about how you play it.
Yeah.
The thing is, when we've seen Ollie use it, it's never really been for positive reasons, right? And that's why, as fans, we sort of fear. So
it's not like you can just put them, but it's not tactical manager. It's not FIFA. Do you know what I mean? You can't just put men into positions and it work. You have to have instruction, and you have to give the players a certain way of playing, and every player will know his role in that team. And that's where Ollie concerns me. It really does. It really does. Scott there with the super chat. Cheers, Scott. Already hearing the excuses from Ole injuries to centre backs. I don't want to. I said this yesterday. I think I messaged Mark. Said exactly the same thing. I don't want to hear any excuses. You've got one of the best squads in the league, and that's one thing we don't need. On the defence, though, guys. I mean, absentees is one thing, but slightly concerning about the players that are actually fit and the lack of form of the likes of Luke Shaw as well, Kev, mate, and a chopping and changing defence with an out of form individual there, defensive-wise. I mean, because Shaw has been pulled a couple of times for positional sense and just not being as good as he was for England, really. And again, that's another concern you got to take into it, isn't it? And it's like, yeah, you could sort of build up a rapport with two centre-backs you're used to playing with, but throwing in two new centre-backs into a pressure cooker against the top scorer in the league this season, and Leicester looking to get back on track and take advantage of this, then that's obviously a concern as well, mate. We do need a few players to start up in the game as well, not just the ones that are missing. A few are individually out of form as well, mate.
Yeah. Well, Luke Shaw, I mean, I was willing at one stage to probably put it down to the Euro hangover. I think there's a few England players like that you look and think it's took them a few games, but we're 7 games in now. Luke Shaw has been incredible, but again, like you say, he has been sort of doing daft things. And on the other side as well, Wan-Bissaka certainly can't have the excuse of a Euro hangover because he didn't go. I've been quite disappointed with him as an attacking threat, if anything. So you take that out your team, that's your left and right side, 2 players that should be bombing up and down the left and right respectively, really. And I really don't know what it is. Are they being told not to attack? Are they being told to stay back? Because honestly, I can't put my finger on it. Wan-Bissaka, honestly, I'm trying to think of the Leeds game I was at. Obviously, it was a great result, but when you're actually there and you see him, it's like he was scared to go over the halfway line. Now, I don't know whether that's something that's drilled into him. Do not go over the halfway line or whatever, but it's a massive part of modern day football these days. You're in effect, you're defensive minded, but you're expected to get up and down the wing, aren't you? That role of like a wing back has just totally changed down the years.
I think that's harsh. I don't know. I think that's hard. I think Wan-Bissaka has not been bad for a lot of this season. I think in many ways I know people will be like, well, that's not good enough. But in many ways, he's shown me in more spells than ever before that he does have more of an attacking impetus. I think the biggest problem with him when it comes to like going forward is passing a bit forward. Like when he gets the ball, he can be quite regressive, right? Like he'll take a touch. Like one of the biggest skills in football that you see all the greatest players have is like they'll receive the ball from any angle, but the touch alone will be a progressive one, taking it closer towards the goal. Whereas you see sometimes Wan-Bissaka will get a pass and like the touch will be a bit, safe and passive negative. But in general, I do think he's been a bit better. When it comes to both the fullbacks, yeah, like I think both of them haven't necessarily lit the world on fire, especially Luke Shaw when you look at what he was last season to this one. But that's a general theme, I think, within the whole team, right? Where the biggest concern I have, like, you know, and you're talking about like some of our players who are fit aren't performing. The biggest problem I have is that we're now going into a very, very difficult run of games, right? Very, very difficult. What is our best team? What's our best starting 11 right now? We don't know.
No one knows.
And I
don't
looked
think
at
Ollie knows.
I looked at our run of games at the start of the season, and I went, you know what? I'm not even going to focus too much on how many points we have by the time we get to that next international break where the games do pick up. But I at least want to know what our best 11 is and how we play. And we're going into a very difficult run where we don't know that. It's not been helped that we're also going to have returning players being incorporated, right? Rashford's coming back into this thing. Maguire's going to be coming back. Obviously, he's only missed a couple of games, but Maguire's coming back in. So what? Is his first game back going to be against Liverpool with Salah in the form he's in, right? Like, similar thing with, like, it's very, very, you know, loads of question marks right now around what our best team is. And that's not okay considering the run of games we have. That's only going to lead to more disappointment, more frustration. And Ollie has to deal with that. Right,
and it'll be more excuses, won't it? That's what it'll come down to. Because, like you say, if he throws Harry Maguire in and that's his first game at Anfield, and let's just say he gets torn apart, and hopefully, obviously, we don't get beat. But if we do, you just know that he's going to come out after that game and say, "Well, Harry's not played for a few months or whatever. You know, I've thrown him in." Well, that is on you. You know, I'm always saying it in hindsight and looking ahead, kind of thing, but. That's what it will come down to, won't it? That old line, and he'll probably get away with it on Saturday as well because injuries. But he should have the squad.
Saturday, and he's like, "Yeah, we just didn't have Freddie in the midfield."
Don't
should win if anything.
Don't.
He's not in.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, going back to Wan-Bissaka there, my concern hasn't been as much. I know he's got his limitations going forward, and like Levin said. There's been the odd moment, and Luke Shaw was like this at one point where he's putting some good balls in and no one was on the end of him, and his stats would have looked a little bit better. But my issue with Wan-Bissaka is he switches off positionally for me. I've seen it at Old Trafford and I've watched him, and I'm like, he's there. You've got to see that. He didn't see it, and we're in trouble. I'm just like, he's just basic defending. And someone said in the chat there, he's still young. He's only 23. If you're not in a United team and knocking on the door of the international team by the age of 23, I think there's something to worry about personally, because it's not like he's not getting the opportunity and not getting game time. I want to see some improvement, and I'm seeing similar things. I'm still going to give him time, obviously. We've still got early doors of the season, but I'm not as much concerned with him, more of the Maguire and the Shaw form coming back from the Euros. That is my major concern, because I do think both of them have been off the pace so far this season, and it is a bit of a concern. But we're nearly there. We've got to touch on the main man himself. Levin said it then. Beth, your man, your guy, Marcus.
Doctor.
Is he going to start against Leicester? Is he going to come in? I mean, I'm going to ask you this one first, Beth. I mean, personally, you can always look at it on a team and how United are playing and what United actually need right now. But personally for him, no one's had a busier 2 years than Marcus Rashford in football. The accolades are there, honorary degrees. It looks like all that has now been done and dusted for him. Is it the perfect time personally for him to actually come back and start playing? He said he's feeling physically and mentally a lot better now. So is this for him an ideal time to come back right now? Because it does look like he's ready to go, and we could see him focusing. I'm not saying he wasn't focusing on football before, but he had a lot going on in his life, and that has to have an effect on anyone, because it wasn't any small matter. He was pulling up trees in a big way off the field. So do you look at it and go, Rashford right now, this is an ideal time to bring someone like Rashford back in, personally for him anyway?
Honestly, I'm really excited for Rashford to be back. I remember Rashford when he first came into the team and the things he could do. Super confident player, taking people on. When he went onto penalties just before Bruno got here, that penalty he scored in Paris, he was fearless. He knew he was scoring, and then he became overplayed. And he said himself he got injured in September, and even the year
said
before,
in the final, didn't he?
he was injured a lot of the season, and he was playing through this injury because one, he loved United, two, he wanted to play football, he wanted to be in the England team, but injuries affect you mentally as well as physically. And Marcus Rashford, you could bank on him to score a penalty, and I don't want to come back to it, but the Euros for me is just that when he missed that penalty, that was just summed up his season. Like, I feel like he was still putting in good numbers because he's a talented player, but his overall gameplay wasn't there because he was struggling with his injury. And I think now he's had time to, obviously, he said he's fully recovered. He's going to be really hungry for football. And plus, it's not as if anyone's really solidified the place in that team while he's been gone. Like, I think we've not been absolutely amazing. I do think Greenwood at the start of the season, he's really worked his way into a starting place. But it's Rashford, he can come back into that team now. I think Ollie should bring him off the bench, obviously, when he first starts putting him back into the team. But I think he's going to be going at players again. I think he's going to be taking these shots that we know he can have from long distance. And I think he's going to be using his pace to obliterate defences. I think he really is going to make a massive difference because a lot of people, he's had a lot of criticism because people just remember the last year and a bit, really, where he hasn't been as good as he was. And yeah, he's been putting in the numbers, but his gameplay wasn't great. But now, without injury, I hope to see the old Rashford back. And he's got talent, and I think he will come back, and I think he'll do really well.
Kev, I mean, I said it there, Beth said it. I mean, talked about his attributes that he has got. We talked about a lack of directness this season so far. I mean, where does he fit in with you in this team? I mean, you talked about playing Edison Cavani ahead of Ronaldo, try and make Cavani and Ronaldo both work. I mean, where does Rashford fit in for you? When everyone's fit, does he come straight into that team for you, Kev?
I would be probably looking on the left-hand side. But again, that raises another debate, really, because there'll be people that will be saying when Martial's fully fit, fully firing, he's in that team. On the right-hand side, again, you've got Sancho, Greenwood fighting to get in on the right-hand side. Because really, Ronaldo and Cavani, you can't really look more past them. I think they're the two main men up there, the ones that are going to get you the goals. As regards to Rashford, I'm excited to see him come back. I think the one thing with Rashford is final decision making. I think that's the one thing that has really held him back as a player. And by that, I mean that final thought process when you get into a kind of dangerous position. Now, I remember Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was first at Manchester United, used to be infuriated sometimes. Too many step overs, not the right pass, having a shot when he shouldn't, crossing the ball when he shouldn't. I think Rashford, and I think Ronaldo will be a big part in this, will be Rashford looking at somebody like Ronaldo in training and seeing how his brain works when he's thinking about these final things, the things that get you goals in football games. So I'll be interested to see how he fits in. And one thing I will say, that man has not been skipping leg day in the gym anyway. Have you seen the photos of his thighs? Wow.
Another point on
Rashford's
that
back.
Last season, even though Rashford was literally injured like most of the season, he was playing through injury, he was still our second top goal scorer. He was in front. I know Cavani was injured and stuff, but he was even in front of Cavani with goals, and he wasn't playing well. Like, he is going to score goals when he comes back.
And it's the assists as well, but I think it's something like 16 assists, if I'm not wrong. So goal contribution is big. I mean, Levin, mate, going back to what we talked about earlier on in the show, does Rashford coming back force Pogba into that central role now if he is going to be played by Ollie quite a lot, which we are expecting?
Yeah, it should. It should. You look at that left-hand side, ideally, I think most people would say Rashford's going to be the one starting. Then you'd look to play Martial. Sancho's obviously played a lot off that side, and, that is going to be an option. Lingard will play off that side when he plays sometimes. So there's way too many players lining up to play on the left for him to continue playing Pogba on the left. And that's actually one thing I was, quite excited for. Before we signed Ronaldo, when we had signed Sancho, I was like, well, yeah, he can't play, he definitely can't play Pogba on the left now. But obviously Rashford had to go for a surgery, and so we saw more of it. But yeah, I think it causes real pressure there on that side. I've seen a lot of people sort of criticizing his decision making and whatnot, and of course that needs to improve. But you look at us playing against teams who defend a lot lower, our wing play this season hasn't been good enough. And wing play is incredibly important against low blocks because you want to stretch the team, you want to create more space by stretching the block. Rashford's directness is incredibly important for that, right? The runs he makes in behind, looking to take defenders on, that creates space for the likes of Ronaldo, etc., who are going to be in the box looking for opportunities. Yeah, he might not be the one, creating that final ball with the cross or whatever, but he might create that bit of space that Luke Shaw needs that he's not been getting so far this season to put the cross in to Ronaldo, right? So these are things people need to watch out for. I think Rashford coming back is a big positive for us. I remember the 1920 season before that first injury that took him out for a while. He looked like one of the best wingers in Europe, right? He was in such good form. And so obviously maybe that was just good form, but I like to hope he can get back to that point. And he's shown us as well, right? And something that's clearly important to teams of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is even when you're playing bad, you have the ability to score, right? He's another one of those guys where he gives us that chance to win games, even in games where we might not deserve it. And with the way we've been playing, I value that now because we that's something we've needed, right? And we relied on. So Rashford coming back is a positive.
I mean, Beth, going back to the worry in defence, and I talked about building partnerships up and whatnot. Luke Shaw being out of form, no Marcus Rashford in the team. We always knew that them two had a decent rapport down that left-hand side. Coincidence? Could we see a Rashford coming back help and being more of a positive in other areas of the pitch as well?
I do think so, yeah, because I do think their relationship was really good and they did build that kind of rapport. I don't think it's all because of Rashford, because obviously you saw Shaw played unreal in the Euros and Rashford barely played, so I don't think it is all down to Rashford, but I do think it helps having like a proper left winger that you've got that relationship with, and I do think Shaw will get back to his form, having Rashford there and having that relationship to go off. And like Levin said, with Rashford, he opens up a lot of space and that'll help Shaw as well with getting his crosses in and getting more attacking. At the moment, it's been a lot of pass it to the winger, they pass back. They pass it back into the midfield, they pass back. We need that pace, we need that directness, and that'll automatically help the fullbacks. But that's the thing with Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well on that right-hand side. He's never had a proper partner, and Greenwood, I love him to bits, but he doesn't help him out whatsoever on that side. He's much more of a forward, so I'd like to see Sancho. I still want Greenwood to play like in various other different positions and when he comes off the bench and stuff, but I would really like to see Sancho get that chance on the right, build that relationship with Wan-Bissaka and be the winger that's going to get balls into Ronaldo, make the passes, create a creative player in there and not just having all the creative responsibility on Bruno's shoulders.
I mean, I can hear, and I know you're watching, Ricky, I'm pretty certain you are. The thought of Rashford coming back, I can feel a long-winded message coming my way, mate. I really can, so I'll probably bring that up in another show, but I can hear Ricky's mind ticking right now, thinking, no one's even mentioned Martial tonight. It's not even in the equation. I mean, does this mean that we're going to lose Greenwood, Kev?
Going to lose him?
In terms of starting games, because we know what Ollie's like. I mean, Rashford's going to play, innit? We know Ronaldo's going to play. We're even losing your man Eddie, mate, here, I think. It's big.
Long term, obviously the plan is that Greenwood would be Manchester United's number 9, but I think it's testament to Greenwood at the minute that it's almost you can't leave him out. And even he's getting in ahead of Jadon Sancho. They've just spent 70-odd million on him this summer. Now, do I think Jadon Sancho is a better right-sided player than Greenwood? Yeah, I do. As an all-round footballer, and I didn't mean any disrespect to Aaron Wan-Bissaka earlier. I get everybody's thoughts on the fact that he doesn't play with a set right-sided player. I get that, they've changed it and stuff. So from his point, when he's trying to attack, if you're not on the same wavelength as that person, I totally get that. Greenwood leaves him a bit exposed, doesn't he? He's not going to get back and help him out. But Jadon Sancho as an all-round right-sided player, yeah, I would say he was better, but you just can't leave Greenwood out at the minute. He is a striker, really, playing on the right-hand side, isn't it? We have a lot of these players that are...
Shoehorns.
Yeah, well, it is that. And it's Ricky used to say it all the time. He made me see the light in that way. And Rashford's another one. You know, Rashford started out as a striker, and they're put out on the right and left respectively, like Greenwood. But again, I don't understand how anybody could drop Greenwood at the minute. He's just an absolute predator. Left foot, right foot, back. You know, he knows where the goal is, and it's just such a thingy headache, which begs the question. Solskjaer's kind of brought a bit of this on himself by bringing Sancho in, because you don't spend that money to have somebody sat on the bench.
I don't mind Greenwood potentially playing not as much or less or featuring less, just because, I am someone that I often fear, young players being overplayed. It's something we've seen countless times in football history, taking it back to the likes of, I don't know, like Michael Owen and whatnot, right? Where you just have players who at a young age looked amazing and were overplayed. That's why I'm fine with Greenwood. Like, I see people upset Greenwood don't go to play with England when he clearly is good enough to be in that squad. I don't mind it. I'm fine with him getting a couple of weeks off or whatnot. Like, it's something I'm worried about. Courtois actually had a great quote yesterday after the Nations League third place game, where he's talking about footballers just being overplayed. There's too many games, and he's, a mature player, right? He's like 29 or something, right? And so, you see the likes of Pedri playing 70 games in a year, right? It's madness. It's madness. So I'm fine with the prospects of Greenwood maybe not playing as much because he's been overplayed. I do still think he's going to be a big part of the team, because I think Ollie clearly very much trusts him and likes him. And he's warranted that, because he's been incredibly talented and he's been a success thus far. And I don't think there's anything wrong with him sharing a role on the right or potentially featuring up front. I think he'll shine in either. And I just don't think people should be worried about Greenwood playing less or anything like that.
I agree, because with Greenwood as well, like, I mean, this isn't Greenwood's fault either, because he's such a good player, and I do think his overall gameplay has improved massively. And I think he is a lot more of a team player now, but it is a difference having him and Sancho on the right. It's what you want to go for. Sancho's going to give you that end product, that pass. He's going to give you that creativeness, whereas Greenwood's often going to cut in and shoot, and God, he can shoot and he could get a goal. But sometimes if Greenwood doesn't score in a game, I'm thinking, what's he contributed to the game? Like, he can have them games where he contributes a lot, but also sometimes he can go missing until he has that amazing strike that we all know he can have. And I would like to see him be used more as, like, maybe as a super sub, or start a game and then moving to up front if Ronaldo's coming off, like, possibly. I don't want to completely lose him playing up front. Like, I would like to see it often. We're not going to see it that much, but that's where I think he should end up. And sometimes you need that creativeness on the right. You need someone who's going to be getting the ball in the box to Ronaldo.
Yeah, I do feel like his opportunities as a 9 are very limited with Cavani and Ronaldo in the team. Before we finish up, going back to Levin's point there, you only have to look at Phil Foden, how Pep nurtured Phil Foden into the team, and now look at Raheem Sterling, hero of the Euros. No chance of getting ahead of Phil Foden for me. It's crazy. You know what I mean? This is the highest level. And you know what? Just holding him back. Everyone moaned about it. He should be playing more. He now looks like he's irreplaceable for England and for City. And it goes to show what coaching can do sometimes. They'll moan about not seeing certain players, but the ones that have got the big long-term plan are the ones that usually bring on them trophies with the big A's that Kev loves so much. But we are done and dusted. We've done over an hour, amazingly. Again, so much to talk about with United. It is non-stop. I just want to say thanks for all the chats, all the super chats as always. Don't forget to hit the like button, share on socials, and obviously subscribe to United Stands. Levin, cheers for coming on, mate, as always.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate all the people in chat, all the mods. Comment down below what you ate for dinner tonight.
That's it. Oh, Beth, you want another takeaway tonight?
I'm actually not. I'm trying to be good, considering I've got a takeaway coming up this week.
Yes, we all know. What a week. Healthy. Thanks for coming on as always, Beth.
It's good to be back. I was gutted to miss last night, so it's good to be back talking all things United. Therapy.
Great as always. And Kev, my man, we've done 2 days in a row, mate. Still needing some sleep, mate. You're going to get some more tonight. Cheers for coming on,
hopefully recharge the batteries. And I'll just apologise to Levin for the start of the show earlier. It was actually a dab that 11, yeah.
I'm not certain. Even with that information, I'm not certain it was a dab. But
I'm guessing. I wasn't looking in
Probably
detail,
right.
but Kev was being baited by the comments again. He must have been.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you. New Monday night fans, Kev. Them Thursday night ones have switched allegiances. That's it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, brilliant show. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow again. Obviously, more content every day on United Stand. But for now, guys, thank you very much.